Peace, brother. Knowledge born.
Peace, Uncle Tag. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, bro. How you been?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Peace to you. Peace to the family. Peace to the OG Wisdom podcast where the OGs come to kick the wisdom. You understand?
That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. And in a few minutes, we're gonna have our featured guest today, who our brother Knowledge born hooked it up. Our brother Oba Ade Dayo. He's gonna come in and discuss African spirituality. Me and him sat on the phone for a while yesterday, just to chop it up, get
Yeah.
reacquainted because we loosely affiliated. We got a lot of the same people, but the age difference, you know, it's the little hood gap. You know what I mean? But he know a lot of brothers that are very near and dear to my heart. We was having a conversation, and he brought up one of our brothers, my man in Juicy, and he was just reminding me of some things, and it just took me back to a special place. So that conversation was therapeutic for me, brother. Knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Family over everything, man.
yo,
Family
you
over
already
everything.
know.
Right.
I always tell people anytime I do a presentation, and I do a slideshow, his picture is always in the beginning, and I always say I do it in his memory. You know what I'm saying? But how you been, brother? Knowledge born?
I'm good, Uncle Tag, man. It's that time of the year. You see what I'm saying? It's that time of the year. It's the time of the harvest. You see what I'm saying? So whatever you were out there sowing, you're reaping the benefits of your harvest. So if you put out nothing, you got nothing to harvest during the harvest season. You understand what I'm saying? But the
That's
wise farmer, the mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical agriculturalist can plant seeds. So
that's right.
now you're benefiting from the harvest before we go from harvest to hibernation. You understand? So that's what it is right now. Feeling that.
Years ago, we had our brother King Simon on here. Shout out to our brother King Simon. I get a chance to check out his page, King Simon Presents. And he was talking about, as well as my brother Blacksmith, we're talking about, the exposure. What we see going on right now is a lot of celebrities are reaping what they're sowing. Some good, some bad. I mean, the Tribe Called Quest finally was inducted into the I'm getting close together. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as well as I believe Mary J. Blige, who is well deserved. You know, decades of their music that was put out, and now they're finally being recognized for it, which is dope. But also in other news, we got other brothers, the drill scene, dudes who put out music about genocide, are also reaping the harvest of what they planted. You want to speak to that real quick, brother Black? Gutter, I see you, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, I see I'm in the house. I'm in the house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
House looking immaculate as usual.
All right.
Stun on them, gutter. Shit, stun on them. That's how you feeling right now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah, brother Knowledge Born. Your thoughts.
I think this is truly a time of subversive activity. We could go through like all of the pantheons of books and things like that, and we see the power of media to mass manipulate minds. And I was talking about this yesterday a little bit. The Manchurian candidates, tis the season for the Manchurian candidates. Stanley Milgram, a pilgrim who did this psychological experiment in California, he said he wanted to understand how the Nazi Germany situation went. He said when they were interviewing the people for the trial, they said they were following orders. That's it. They were following orders. So he wanted to understand that, quote unquote. That's what he said. So he got some young teenagers together. He had half of them be prison guards and half of them be prisoners. This was a month long experiment that had to be shut down 2 weeks into the experiment because one of the men wanted to off himself. You understand what I'm saying? Uh, So these were kids, right? These were kids. They signed up. They told them they was going to get some money at the end of the joint, so they went to this experiment. The first couple of days, there was like small movement, but by the end of the first week, going into the second week, the kids that were identified as correction officers were correction officers, and the kids who identified as prisoners, they were prisoners. Lock, stock, and barrel. They forgot that this was an experiment. They forgot that they was going to get paid at the end. They were in the thick of it within a week's time. That's a week. There's no outside pressures. There's no threat of death or coercion or any of that, Uncle Tad. It's just that. It just happened. This happened in their mind, so it became their reality.
Talk about it.
There were no guns.
Question.
But
Who were the kids?
who were these was the kids that they used for this?
No, I'm asking who were the kids? Like, what background did they have?
These was white suburban kids in
Bingo.
California.
That explains everything.
So
part of their culture.
Right. So when we look at that, we could see our set of circumstances also the same with prolonged exposure. Prolonged. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What I'm just saying is that's part of their culture is they follow bullies. That's part of their culture. It's explicit in their culture.
Right.
Whoever's the toughest, that's who they follow. We're gonna do whatever they say. This has been going. Just look at their history. If you deal with their history and you look at their history, that's part of their culture. That's the explicit part of their culture.
Right.
Where they just like once somebody's in control, we do whatever he say. No ifs, ands, and buts. Even with it, like just look at their kings. Their kings could do anything. We could stack up 1,000,000 skulls and it's cool with us.
Right.
Whereas dealing with our culture, we had councils. You know what I'm saying? Which with elder women and men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That these were the checks and balances of whatever ruler was in control. That's why I said that's part of their culture. That's why I asked a question, because that's part of their culture.
Right.
Yeah, well, they stole our culture, and this is why these conversations are important, because we have to reclaim our culture, because many of our folks are under westernized psychology. We're under the
we've been here over 400 years.
Exactly.
Under foreign occupation. So
yeah,
the folkways. So this is what I'm saying, because Uncle Tad asked me about the question about the underbelly. Like we're looking at us doing our best cosplay in regards to the image and after the likeness of this foreign occupation. So we took on the foreign occupiers' ways and we threw away our cultures and folk ways. That's why I'm glad Brother Obad's coming on.
But we didn't really throw it away. We tried to have it in play. Matter of fact, in certain places it stayed, but not in its full authentic self. You understand what I'm saying? Right. But it endured in a lot of places. Just that even in America, like people like to say that it didn't endure in America, but where do you think you get hoodoo from? Or roots or any of those things? This is what that was transferred with us when we were brought here illegitimately. Some of those, and just certain things that we do, like it's a man, trying to remember the doctor's name, but he was talking about the imprint of memory on DNA and how we retain certain things that from the continent, from our ancestors that we don't even think about. It's just second nature. Like putting stuff on our head. You know what I'm saying? Like how people walk around with stuff balanced on our head. The same way how you'll see women wear gowns and stuff like that. You understand?
Right.
Is just the way they wear it. You know what I'm saying? It's so similar back to ancestors how they wore their dress. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
Right.
our resistance. That's our resistance in itself, having that genetic memory
Yeah, yeah.
to conform to so much. Like even pouring libation, you know, as we came up, we always knew you just pour out some for the dead homies. A lot of us
Mhm.
didn't realize that's libation, you
That's
know,
the ancestors.
honoring the
Once you
ancestors.
die, you're an ancestor.
That's a fact.
Whether you're a good one or a dark one is,
Yeah.
that's on the individuals that life passed away and how they live.
And that's something we need to tap into as well, because many times people only want to honor the famous ancestors, but seldom do they go down their own family bloodline and learn who their grandmother's grandmother was, or great
But
auntie.
look what we do. Most of us honor ancestors that don't belong to us.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
if you Christian or Muslim, you honoring ancestors that don't belong to you.
But I need Brother Oba to come in here and speak to that.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
gonna speak. He gonna have a lot to say on all that. You understand what I'm saying? He got a lot to say on all that. That's his. That's. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
yes.
but Brother
So
Knowledge Point, real quick, how did the experiment end?
the experiment got shut down after a couple of weeks. Because of that situation. One guy actually escaped, and the other guy actually had off this.
Mm,
So this is a simulation, right?
yeah,
This is a simulation, but to the mind, it was real. You in a controlled environment for a couple of weeks. You're not even. This ain't months. This ain't years. So if that had that lasting effect on them in a couple of weeks, imagine being in a prolonged state of a couple hundred years.
right. Or even I do you one better, even within our own lifetime. Because
Right.
when we talk about hundreds of years, we can only imagine,
Mm-hmm.
to which again we make these things our reality.
We
Because
ain't got it. We don't have to imagine the years. We ain't got to imagine the stuff that happened.
I'm saying I wasn't around 400 years ago, and I'm
No,
watching
what
now.
I'm saying is we don't have to imagine. Shit was documented.
But right, and
The
that's my
horrors that they did
invitation. Right,
was documented.
I'm not talking about just their horrors. I'm talking about history. Period.
Right.
Because you always got people that glorify certain aspects and people that contradict from both groups. Even if we look within our own scholarly works, if you don't know a Dr. Ben, a Dr. Clark, you're likely to take the word of a Henry Louis Gates Jr. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? If you don't know any better, because he'll talk about African history, but then he'll give it a skewed perspective and say, yeah, Africans sold black people into slavery, and that.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. We always have to be critical of the information that we read, especially when we weren't there. The best thing we could do is analyze and critique our own life experiences, and with a little research and study, and just introspective.
People,
Look into ourselves. Why do we make these our reality? Like Brother Knowledge Born, I'm gonna give you the mic, Gutter. But like Knowledge Born said, for these people, it was an experiment, but they made it their reality. Many of us caught up in the ghetto mindset, in the hood mentality. This was an experiment as well, and we've adopted it that my brother's life is less than mine, based on what? A value system that was given to us by the foreign occupying army. And we have to critique, why don't I like this brother? Why do I want his chain bad enough to take his life? And we have to start tearing that apart, because whatever happened in the past, we can't go back. We can't stop dudes from bodying Malcolm. We can't tell Dr. King don't go out on the back. None of that we can do. Even though I would love to have done any of that, we can only control what we can now. But go ahead, Gutter, you was adding on to that.
what I was saying is like if that's our problem. You said it exactly. Nobody wants to research anything.
Right.
I just had a discussion with one of the young homies the other day, talking about the disease of religions. You know what I'm saying? You know, he caught up. He a Hebrew Israelite, and I had to, just give him some history.
Yeah.
But what I told him, I said, for those that believe, see, that's why it's like, bro, when you have a significant portion of our population that then already took the heroin of Christianity and Muslim or Islam, you know what I'm saying, in their life, when we know, just looking from a scientific and historical aspect, we've been on this planet over 300,000 years. They have settlements, civilized settlements of towns with grids that have been gridded out over 100,000 years ago. And I'm supposed to believe in something that happened approximately 8,000 years ago. Come on, let's be serious. It's like, you know what I mean? So what I say, and this what I say is, when people believe in something, they don't want to research because they're in fear of their belief being challenged.
Yeah. Or shattered, dismissed.
No,
Yeah.
challenge. I mean, just even it being challenged, because you gotta understand, people believe wholeheartedly, bro.
Yeah.
They believe everything. Like I really asked the dude, it's like, so you mean to tell me that, one, that we gonna just take parts of the book? I'm not even going. You believe that a whale dude fell off a boat, whale swallowed him, took him to the destination that the creator wanted him to do, and spit him out 3 days. Then you're gonna convince me that a dude hovered over a mountain. You know what I mean? You want to, you know what I'm saying? He just hovered there because that's the depiction that's in this book. Um, that somebody turned back and turned to salt. It's just like shit that is like, when we deal with logic, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if this happened then, why doesn't it have the ability to happen now?
Right.
You mean the creator just stopped talking? So if he stopped talking, why is you still talking to him? You know what I'm saying? I'm just dealing with, you know what I'm saying? I'm just dealing with certain things that should be logical. But like I said, when you dealing with people that have a ingrained belief, because I told him, I said, bro, you move from Christianity, which you was raised into, to Hebrew Israelite, but you use the Bible for everything. How does that make sense? The Bible don't even supposed to exist to a Hebrew Israelite. You're only supposed to go by the Torah if you're following the real concepts of, Judaism.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So these dudes, it's like, and then when you give them history, you ask them, all right, you ask a dude, so who was the Pharaoh when Moses, when they left? He'll tell you Ramses. That's emphatically no. You know what I'm saying? That's emphatically no. Just do your history, bro. You know what I'm saying? If dudes research, but like I said, it's the love of belief. You know what I'm saying? They want to take the onus off of themselves and put it on somebody else.
Right.
Because we done been through horror for X amount of years. But I think if it gotta come to a time then when you gotta put the onus on yourself, my nigga.
And that's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? We got to put the onus on ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Instead of waiting on somebody else. Nobody, like Dr. Clark said this before I was born. We have no friends.
Yeah. You want a friend, look in the mirror. Yeah. And I think that's
Nobody's coming to save us.
and
Him and
that's
Dr. Ben been saying this, you know, Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and Ivan Van Sertima and Sheikh Antijah been saying the same thing for almost 100 years, bro. With numerous other people as well, in their own ways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody might not see that, you know, look, um, brother Malcolm dealt with the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? Like we got people that were, you know, were religious in the aspect, but they put one thing first.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They put the people first. They may have quoted from whatever religious
It's text.
text that they believed in, but the number one thing first was for him, Garvey, was the people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of things I disagree with both of them with, as you know what I'm saying, in certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they're like the sincerity for the love of their people stood out more than any religious dogma that they had.
Yeah. And that's what Malcolm's message was in his speech, the message to the grassroots, that your religion should make you a better person. You know, it should cultivate you to your highest spiritual level, you know, just for a lack of better words,
Uh,
because Malcolm was
me,
Islamic,
not 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 not
and
not to cut you off,
Catholic. Yeah.
not to cut you off, but for me, your religion should instill in you a revolutionary for us. I don't care about nobody else. Like I said, like Tad, no. When I speak, I don't speak on nobody else but us. I could care less about anybody else. No disrespect to anybody, but until we can garner positive relationships outside of our community, we have to, you know, strengthen our community. So I don't, like I said, I don't care about anybody else. But what I'm saying is it has to invoke a revolutionary spirit in us, no matter where we are. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a clear enemy. If you're a Christian, nigga, the devil better be that white man. You're a Muslim, the same thing. Shaitan better be that white man. You know what I'm saying? That's how it has to be represented in order for me to respect your movement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For us. I can only speak for us. You know what I
So
mean?
so why would you kick off the Hebrew Israelites? I mean, they like to fashion themselves as revolutionaries through that book.
But they aren't.
Mm. You say the Hebrews aren't revolutionaries.
What have they done?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not in that circle.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
I would like for the on a public stage. That's for any of them, bro.
Right.
Name me one,
Good.
whether it's the Al Islam, all of the Mars, they gonna do something for their brothers. You know what I'm saying? The NOI, any of these quasi-religious organizations. What up, guy?
Yeah. So what is it that you would like to see them do? Like
Hmm?
that they can do from their capacity?
Stop worrying about what a person believes in. That's their problem. They only care if you want to listen to their story. They only care about you if you're willing to embrace what they embrace.
But isn't that most groups?
Hmm?
Isn't that most groups? Because one thing I've learned is people are always trying to recruit people to see
Yeah,
things.
but this what I'm saying is this is why I say I don't go with the religious because y'all are going for religious purpose. I don't care about that. That's not my purpose. You understand what I'm saying? My like if your purpose is not for the upliftment of us instead of scamming us, that's what most of these organizations do. Name one of them that don't take money from broke people, from
Yeah.
broke black people. Name one.
Everybody exploit the poor. Everybody exploit the poor. But you're right though. Cause I had a sister. Actually, she was signed to Interscope. I won't say her name, and we had a deep conversation, and she was disheartening by our folks' spiritual system. She said a priest had got her for some bread, like 6 figures, and she was trying to leave it alone. And
This,
and
this this be my thing too, bro. And I don't mean to dump on nobody that gets scammed, but understand what scamming is. When you get scammed, what they do. Do you understand what they do?
they con you out your bread.
What is con? Confidence game.
Confidence. Yeah.
They want
Confidence.
you,
Gain your confidence.
they building off your greed.
Yeah.
Let's remember that. So if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Come on, man.
Well,
Like I
that's
said, I don't want to dump on anybody that has been scammed. But let's be real, bro.
well, that goes back to what I'm saying.
You thinking you about to come up and somebody got you. He gonna tell you all type of fly. That's the same thing with giving the money to your pastor. What's the difference, my nigga?
Yeah.
What is the difference?
Brother Knowledge Boy, what do you got to say to that? Anything you want to add on to that?
Hey, it's a sales pitch, man. It's a sales pitch. we was discussing Clockers, the movie Clockers, the Spike Lee joint. It was a sales pitch. Buddy fell for the same sales pitch. Oh, Buddy fell for the same sales pitch. It was a new crop of generation. Every generation, they was in the joint. Buddy was sitting in the barber chair. He was like, "See, y'all roll with me. This is what y'all gonna have. They're gonna sell you something. They coming with the with the con. You see what I'm saying? That point in that Malcolm X movie, he said, God's word ain't no hustle. It's a hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then he said, who needs the nutmeg now? Like literally, it was the game. He like, come on, fam. Like what you want, Malcolm? You want a house? You want a new car? What you want? Like he was looking for an angle. So like the thing about it is with the religiosity, it's a corporate structure. It's a corporate structure. It wasn't a corporate structure when it started, but it was a corporate structure. It turned into a corporate structure. It got usurped. So the God and the salvation and the revolutionary spirit we was looking for, it got sold. You know what I'm saying? It got sold. So simply it's a sales pitch now, and they selling salvation. They selling salvation. So you got to be out there recruiting. You got to be out there with the propaganda. You got to be out there with the slick talk. And when you do battle, you got to be successful. So one way or the other, it has to work. So salvation has to work in your life somehow. You understand? Like Fidel Castro said, ask God for bread. No bread came. He said, ask me for bread. He gave him bread. You understand what I'm saying? So that bread meant loyalty. You understand? So it's a different thing when you can provide tangibles based off of that. So when we look at organizational structure,
our religious structures.
It's all of the structures. All of the structures is set up like that.
Listen, our religious, because even dealing with Islam and Judaism, there's a black section. You understand what I'm saying? It's a black section to everything.
Right.
But they don't bring tangible things to the flock. You understand what I'm saying? All they do is take from the flock. They don't bring nothing to the flock.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And another thing I just want to say is that like once they extracted the words from our spirituality, then it was no longer spiritual. Because you're dealing with people that's soulless. You understand? This is the Urugu.
Right. We
You
used to
understand what I'm
get
saying?
together
So
on plantations on Sunday.
this went on from once they got in control
Right.
of our spiritual systems.
Right. So the Jesus on the wall came from the overseer that was at the Sunday service.
Yeah,
We
watch.
used to gather together on Sunday, and that was a day off. So we would send messages through the songs, send messages of revolt, when to leave, when to stay, and also for people from other plantations to be able to come. That might be the only time they see their children. They could look at their children to see what it was.
If they are
So
right.
once the rebellion start happening, then they're like, hold up, we got to have somebody there watching the congregation to see if they could pick up any messages. So that man went from that man to that figure. So that figure is up there, like this white man is watching you. You understand? So it's the same psychology. So they falling down and praying and all this other shit. So when they see this image, they're under control.
Yeah.
They're under control.
Because they know that power comes from the fact that he got that white skin.
Mm-hmm. Until the lights go out. That's a game changer. That's a game changer.
Yeah, they can't stand it.
So yeah. Go ahead, Uncle Ted.
Now I was gonna say, so the solution would be what? I mean, we abandoned this because many of our folks don't know what our system is anymore. So we abandoned this and do what? Because one of the things I like to tell people, and again, can only deal within our lifetime and the era around that. Most of our revolutionaries have literally been religious people, even in the westernized.
And that's been the problem.
Well, not for Dr. Khalid, not for Malcolm, not for Dr. King, nor Nat Turner. These were
That's why all of them. That's why all of them are dead.
Right, but they were dead because they were revolutionaries. They embodied the spirit of it.
I mean, like aside from Nat Turner, the rest of them ain't have to die within the revolution like that. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean,
and it correlates directly with their religious practices.
Yeah. I wanna.
That's my point. It's like not to say that, you know what I mean, somebody like even Garvey. Bro, they killed him. They put him in the jail. He caught pneumonia, all types of shit, asthma. Got out of jail. He couldn't fight no more. He was a walking dead man.
All right. Sister Keisha says she agree with you. But hold that thought, Gutter, because I want to bring our guest in. Everybody, shout out to everybody in the chat, Sister Fawn.
That's who got the answer to that question you just asked, Uncle Tad. He got the answer. He got the answer.
I want to bring in our guest today, and I want everybody to smash the like button. Smash the like button. Smash the like button. But I want to bring in our guest today, our brother Oba Ade Dayo. Peace, brother Oba. How you feeling?
What's going on, man? How you doing, Tad? What's going on?
I'm chilling. We got our
Peace,
brother
knowledge.
Our brother Gutter in the house.
So Gutter is a legend. Your name is etched in the sky, Daddy-O. Don't you worry that part. You heard?
I say.
Have you been checking out the conversation?
Nah, because I'm just having a whole lot of technical difficulties because Murphy is a law, and sometimes you gotta, bend to Murphy's law. You know what I mean? So I had to end up using the phone, it was just a little crazy. So I was catching a little bit about some of the leaders that y'all were talking about.
Right.
But I didn't hear the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh no,
ask that question over
I
time.
got to.
He
Well, it
got
was
the
just
answer.
more of a statement. I don't think it was questions.
It was more of a statement. I was stating that aside from Nat Turner, our leaders that came from a religious standpoint
Mm-hmm.
died. You know, they didn't have to die in the
Right.
fashion they died in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and to me, that's because they honoring ancestors that don't belong to them.
I traded that. You know, you could feed a cat dog food, but he'll sustain himself, but that ain't gonna make his coat shiny and you know what I'm saying his teeth sharp. Feel me? We had what we had at the moment, but when you look at in contrast to Haiti and them having the ability to pull on their gods and become invisible and be able to use that magic,
Go straight from the ancestors.
you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but see, one of the things that I think that in terms of like for right now, I observed something from the favelas of Brazil, right? And in the favelas in Brazil, you don't know who the leader is. Nobody knows, right? He is ambiguous. Nobody can tell on him. He could be walking around the town, checking everybody out. Nobody knows who he is, right? And they have a function like that in Yoruba society where they talk about the king of Oyo would dress up like a commoner at nighttime and be amongst the people. And everybody kind of knows it's him, but they don't acknowledge him as the king. They acknowledge him as a regular person. And this is where you get to necessarily, give your grievances without being worried about retribution because he's a regular guy, right? And he can look at himself and be like, yeah, that shit I did was a little crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So we have to insulate our leaders because when you talk about money and you talk about influence, like, right now everybody's going crazy over a public hanging, you know what I mean, with Sean Combs and them. And I don't know him and I don't know enough to judge him, and I'm pretty sure he ain't the best person in the world, but I don't think he's what they say he is, right? And
They got the monster tag.
yeah, and we have over time we've constantly done the same thing. So they did that to us with OJ. They did that to us with Michael Jackson, right? They did that to us with then eventually R. Kelly, and then it got to the point where Cliff Huxtable was on trial. And 20, 30 years ago, you'd have bet me that, and I'd have been like, you bugging out. He ain't going to jail, right? But Cliff Huxtable went to jail. And so people don't recognize that there's a yeah, like how was Cliff Huxtable doing a bit? Like, what we talking about?
Doing burpees.
You know what I mean? So there's a pattern, right? And so when you go back to what they're doing to Sean Combs, they're using the Jack Johnson Act, right? And so it's always sexual things. It's never the black man never got over on taking nobody's money and nothing like that. He get taken down because of the fear of the black phallus. You feel me? And people are quick to castigate and put something on somebody real quick based on rumor. And that's a problem that we have in our community is that we don't, the Pilgrims, they be like, he did wrong, but we gonna deal with him, not you. Right? It's our business, whatever little, you know what I'm saying, dissident behavior he has, but we ain't gonna let you put him on trial, right? As soon as we don't like somebody and they hear something,
we pass it right off to the cave roaches.
You feel me? And it's a public hanging, and I can't participate in that any further. Now, in terms of the people that we have today, like you said, they have no spirituality. They don't know who God is. They don't know what God is, right? And our morals are always being tested. So, like we were talking about last night, Tad, about the morals, right?
Yes.
The majority of people that get caught up in the street get caught up in the street based on the violence, not the money. The money is not the allure. It's the violence. When you go outside and you deal with a bully and he pressing you, you got two choices: to become a wolf or a sheep. When you become a wolf and you now exact that same violence upon somebody else, everything else is easy after that, right? Because I done beat somebody up to the point where they bled. You want me to steal some clothes? That's easy. You want me to stand here and hold these pieces of thing and whoever asks for them give me the money and I give it to them? That's easy. Because I've already violated God's most, precious law is to not harm each other. So, and we look at it, when they had the thing with with all the gangsters from hip hop and they had Haitian Jack. He said he turned into a shooter because the bully used to be taking his money. He got a pistol and he was like, enough of that. We ain't doing that no more, right? So
that's
one of the things,
that's the majority of us.
absolutely, I can tell I'm guilty of that, right?
Yeah. No, because like that's why I said that's the majority of us, because like usually us that enter into the streets is after first going through it, and then we might help somebody.
Absolutely.
And then when because you going like me, I went through it because I don't got no older brother. So
Right.
anybody, I gotta fight. Then I gotta fight for my older sisters. So I'm
Right.
getting whipped out at a young age because all my sisters are forward and better older than me. So I'm getting whipped out from a young age. So that just taught me how to, fight, because I'm getting beat by people older than me. So that taught me, that gave me some skill. I'll definitely learn how to weave after these older niggas start them blows. I definitely learn how to weave. But that's what transformed my mentality into like not caring, but caring less about harming somebody else.
Absolutely. You find vindication in it. You vindicate yourself when you like, yo, I gotta defend myself, right? And then you become numb to the violence, that you become apathetic, and you can apply it to anybody at that point, like your whole life, right? I ain't fitting to be, you ain't gonna hurt me, right? And once you become, like I said, so then, like, I used to, as a kid, I used to be like, you sell drugs, what? Like, you know what I mean? We were saying no to crack and all that. And then they was like, yo, here, son, you got to hold this pack. And you know what I'm saying? This is how you get money. And because I didn't necessarily did all kinds of, assaults and all that, this is easy. Like, oh, it's just an exchange. I ain't got to push it on you. You come looking for it. Here, take it, right? And so all of the other morals began to fall to the wayside because the violence was the one thing that was like, because I was watching, somebody had a podcast, I think it was Foucault, and he was talking about the difference between shooters and stick-up kids, right? And people don't really understand that all of that kind of stuff got turned into one person in the late 90s, because there was a time when you had like the poppers pop and the breakers break. You had stick-up kids, you had people that hustle. And hustle didn't mean you sell drugs. You got people that was slumming gold, they was boosting, they was digging pockets, they was jostling, they was scamming, right? Playing 3-card Monte, all of that. And all of a sudden, everybody became a shooter, killer, kingpin.
And rapper.
Right? Like, word? Everybody sell drugs? Everybody's a shooter? Right?
I think that, not to cut you off, I think that came really from listening to rap.
Most definitely. And I'm one to necessarily and knowledge to tell you, for years I've been saying this, like even on Black Dot Show. We got to take responsibility for the heinous mentality that we propagated.
No,
right?
That's a fact, especially our generation.
Hell yeah. Like
I always tell the younger dudes, because it'll be dudes talking about the younger dudes, and they'll be like, yo, this, that, and the third. I was like, brother, you see it because it's on camera. I come from the 80s. You know how many people went to people's doors and shot through the eye hole?
That's a fact.
Knocked on the door, and just whoever answered was getting shot in the face.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Like, bro,
That's
it's like, when
No,
you
but you know,
it could
I
easily
used to,
be 50 kids downtown, and we doing whatever we want. You
yo,
get
listen,
caught, you get caught.
I was talking to my cousin the other day, and we were talking, and my best friend, we were talking about like Halloween was really Devil's Night. Like
Yeah,
I remember being with my mom someplace, and somebody like, "Yo, it's getting late. Y'all better get out of here." You feel me? Because at nighttime, the police can't help you out here. You know what I mean? Because you, like you said, it'd be mob the kids downtown on Fuller Street or downtown Brooklyn, and the paddy wagon riding next to them, and they can't do nothing.
Word.
They like, well, what we gonna do? So we grew up in a post crack apocalyptic world, right? So like, you know, like the children of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they talk about like all of the children that survived, they had to band together with it was like 6-year-olds taking care of 4-year-olds, right? And our generation, like I said, I remember the style when they had flower pots made of tires up and down the street, right?
yeah.
And there was flowers and the empty lots was you know what I'm saying, fixed up like it wasn't no garbage in them, that the lot would be locked off. It had the little chicken wire on it. And then I don't remember what time it was, but I woke up and all of a sudden it was crack vials everywhere and women was looking crazy and their windows was broken and it was chaos, right? And Ahmed told me one day, he was like, yo, we all need to receive a check behind that. Like this is post, you know what I'm saying, war stress that we went through because
Bro,
we watched adults turn into creatures, right?
listen, I could tell you the exact. I could tell you. All right, I was living in Mississippi. 83 summer, I was up here just visiting family. The next year we moved back up here. 83, it wasn't no, it wasn't that you would see the dope fiends.
Right.
That's what used to scare the shit out of me. I ain't gonna lie. I used to see dope fiends. I used to tear ass, my nigga. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I understand.
I used to tear ass. But when I got back, I started seeing like it was a Panamanian lady in my grandmother building that had the fattest ass, my nigga. I used to be in love with this lady. You know what I'm saying? But she older than me. But she wasn't that grown. She was like 21, 22. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Cause when I got back, she was running back and forth, but I don't know what's going on. By the time
Right.
I realized what's because I'm back in New York, so now I gotta absorb New York. I wasn't living in New York for 10 years. So now I have to absorb Brooklyn. Like I gotta absorb and
Right.
learn. I gotta relearn, you know what I'm saying? Because before I was just here for a couple months and I'm back down south.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I ain't really know the New York. So as I'm learning, it took me probably about 3 months. I'm realizing what's going on. Because everybody going to the same building. You know what I'm saying? This is on Lincoln between Clawson and Franklin. I remember this shit. My nigga, by the end of the summer, she was Slim Papa. Bro, she had the wagon. That's when them bubblegum jeans was out.
Yeah.
Bro, my nigga, them shits was sagging on her.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
No,
I
but think about
literally,
how traumatizing that is for a child that doesn't have context, right?
yeah. No, because I knew because I was older. You know what I'm saying? I was a
Mm-hmm.
teenager. I was a teenager that was getting in the mix. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you 15, you 14, 15, 16. That's when you start
You outside.
you outside more. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You either going, you more on the curb. You know what I'm saying? 12,
Yeah,
13,
but you can leave the block
14.
though.
You on
You
the
could cross the
curb,
street.
but you touching your toes out because you doing little shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You not fully in the streets. You just you playing. You understand what I'm saying? So you see that change. So I can imagine for a kid that's younger, that's seeing loved ones.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I'm born 77, right? So I got friends whose mothers, like in the first, second grade, they was regular.
Yeah.
And then like third, fourth grade,
You don't even see
they
him.
was like, ew, look at his mom's. His mom's a crackhead. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I remember those kids turning into bullies because their home life was fucked up. And they was like, nah, son, like, y'all playing around. I'm about to book, son, because I'm taking this shit to the pawn shop. You feel me? Like,
I got young
there's
homies
kids,
that's like that. You know what
you
I'm saying?
feel me?
They grew up and their parents was in the mix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And see, I was blessed that my parents came from a different drug culture. So my mom is a black hippie. She played folk music. She went to San Francisco. I was initially born in San Francisco, right? My mom's just taking acid on Haight Ashbury. She's hanging out with the Allman Brothers. She used to date Buddy Guy, the drummer from Band of Gypsies, Jimi Hendrix, you know what I'm saying, band. So my mom and them had a different context for drugs, not as a means of covering up depression, but a means of necessarily exploring and opening up their mind,
Yeah.
right? My dad, fortunately for me, is not a baby boomer. My daddy was born in 1939, right? So he's from a different era. Like he created the aesthetic that of people living in lofts and hanging out with artists, and you know what I'm saying? He had a different tune to him. And so my parents used drugs, but they wasn't strung out on nothing. Like they go to work Monday through whatever, and Saturday is her day. She, you know what I'm saying? She dropped me off at my grandmother's house. She going to party. I don't get to see her disheveled. You know what I mean? She kept it real, you know what I'm saying, clean in that regard. And so my moms and them would be like, yo, don't judge those people. They, you know what I'm saying? They stuck in a wheel. You know what I mean? Like they got caught. And they, you know what I mean? They didn't have nobody to pull their coat. Because, they came up with people who were addicted to dope since they were 9 years old. My uncles and them grew up with guys that they were growing up with that was addicted to heroin. So like people would make the effort to try to get you off, to try to, you know what I'm saying, get you, you know what I'm saying, to wean you off the dope. Like the crack came and everybody was using it. Like you was either selling it or you was using it, right? And there was
Everybody
no
involved in one way or another.
absolutely. And
Through a family member, a family member might have been hustling, or a family member was getting high.
or getting high, yeah. You see, I mean, like you go to your friend's house and they had the VCR and the TV and the couch, and then 6 months later you went back and that shit wasn't there. You know what I mean? And niggas like, yo, come on, son, let's go in my room. Like, oh, okay, your room is this, you know what I'm saying, is the sanctuary. Because outside of their bedroom, like, I grew up with niggas that locked their door, that had bolt locks, so their parents wouldn't steal their clothes and steal their stuff, right? And that's a very ill concept for children to grow up in that type of psychosis, because you begin to not, and this is what pushed our generation to not listen to the elders, is that we didn't trust them.
Yeah.
Right? Because you saw a person one day, he was like, hey man, here's a piece of candy. And then the next day, he's like, yo, shorty, give me $1 before I stab you. You're like, what? You know what I mean? Like the type of robbery, like, we grew up with people that would mug you, right? And when they say mug you, that means that they didn't pull a gun necessarily on you, but they lured you in, right? So I would go through as a only child. I'd be walking through.
They ran your pockets.
Yeah, but I'm saying with a smile. Like, yo, come here, shorty. Nah, chill. That's my little man. He walked me around the corner. He like, yo, son, take them sneakers off before I cut your pretty face. You like, oh shit, I didn't know a person could switch up like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the smiles ain't really that warm anymore. So it became a psychosis of paranoia. Like, I don't know when somebody about to flip out. And then early on, like as I became an adolescent and niggas was fucking with that dust, and niggas would trip out, like a nigga you would be cool with, and then a nigga be like, yo, son, I'll blow your head off in the staircase. And you're like, what? Like, oh shit, like I thought that was my homeboy. Like, nah, son he going through something, right? So you begin to have a paranoia about everybody. Like, nah, I can't trust you, and I don't trust but the only people that in my little circle who, if they hurt me, they brush me off. You feel me? Like, oh yeah, you got beat up, but now you good, son. Come on, you all right. Then you begin to put your faith and your trust in these people. And a lot of my homeboys, we had relationships that were like adults before we even passed puberty. We was talking to me and my homeboys when we was 14, 15, we was talking about not killing ourselves. You feel me? Like, yo, son, some days I be wanting to just, you know what I'm saying, hang it up. I don't see the future. And niggas talking to each other like, nah, son, you can't do that because you're going to hurt, you know what I'm saying? You're going to break niggas' hearts and shit like that. We was having these conversations at 16 so that when, God bless the dead, when Big came out with Suicidal Thoughts, that shit was real because niggas could really relate to that shit because I felt like I was in a fucking, in the hell.
Bro, you know some ill shit? I remember being big, sitting on the stoop, we scheming like if we catch our pops. Because like at that time, my pops, but like me not understanding, my pops is a jazz musician, so he's always on the road. So you know, this the time my mom's sick, so my pops, you know, he was there. So we on the stoop, like, yo, you know, he mad at his pops, he ain't seen his pop. So he's like, yeah, we catch these niggas, we gonna jump him. But I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, like with my pops, though, like I'm telling him about my pop. I'm like, yo, we can't let this nigga grab us. This nigga know this jujitsu and Aikido shit. He'll fuck us up, bro. So we really planning on jumping these niggas. But like a week later, my pops come to the crib. You know what I'm saying? But me not knowing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
To the crib, he show up, boom, 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 boom. You know, I don't know the things him and my mom's is going through. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they still actually married. They just was separated. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So my pops come to the crib, boo, 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 boo. Me and Big did. I called that shit right off. I'm like, nah. What's up? This nigga will fuck us right up, man. He gonna beat the shit out of us.
Yeah. No, but you still had that as a child. Like even when I was wilding out in the streets, you know, like we might try to take a wino or a nigga, you know what I'm saying? But we ain't really messing with no men because you don't know how this shit gonna go. You feel me? And when you think about that, like now today, you see the kids, they don't have no respect for no men or nothing like that. They talk to you any kind of way.
Listen, for real, I never had the young dudes violate. You know what I'm saying? Young dudes, like dudes will say, excuse me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, OG. Boom, 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 boom. Like, you know what I'm saying? It would be older young dudes that'll come out the mouth more than like teenagers, like dudes, like when the age and I'm talking about 15, 16, 17. Nah, them dudes, them young dudes, I think because you know you can read body language too. Like we read body language when we was little. Like this older dude, he ain't the one to fuck with. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it don't be on no me screwing them or nothing. I just, you know, normal facial features and everything. It's just, you know, they see me and it's like, oh, nah, this an older cat, like somebody that I will respect. You know what I'm saying? But they do respect certain people. Let me tell you something. The young dudes respect who stand on what they stand on.
Oh no, most certainly. Because if they see that you inconsistent, they think they
That's what
come
I'm
sweet.
saying. That's why, like, when a lot of these older dudes that say the young dudes don't respect them, is because you don't. Number one, you don't show them no respect. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, it's like if when you was young, if an older dude ain't show you no respect for no reason, just like disrespect you for no reason, you're gonna disrespect him back.
Oh no, I'm on his top. I'm
Yeah,
on his top. We might book
you
him.
know what I'm saying? So that's where a lot of these young older cats are passed by young dudes, don't know what they doing, and just say some wild foul shit. I see it every day, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's a disconnect because they think every young dude is one of these drill dudes. You understand what I'm saying? They look at shit. Most of these older people look at the media way too much. The
That's
people that
all.
make all of these assumptions and stuff like that, I don't see. And like literally, I worked in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? When I was I worked in the trenches. So a lot of these, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, a young dude to buck up until he see the presence. Like, yo, shorty, chip, what? But like, yo, shorty, I'm just telling you to chill, man. You don't want to blah blah blah. Then when he see like, nah, but it was they trying to explain the situation.
No, I agree with you.
What I'm saying?
But some of these dudes my age and a little older haven't grown up.
Yeah.
They still think that they 17, 18.
And that's what that be the problem. It be the older dudes that think a younger dude gotta respect him because he's older, and you acting like you they age.
Yeah, you trying to knock the same chick. You trying to date the same chicks as them.
Or you trying to move like them. Like, I'm gonna move like my age, my nigga. I just turned 55 a couple of weeks ago. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to act like I'm 25.
No, you know,
I'm acting like a 55-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I might dress like I wear sweats. That's all it is. I've been doing that since I was young because I played basketball. I just love sweatpants. So I wear sweats a lot. I don't even really wear jeans. I wear sweats a lot. So that would be the only thing where somebody assuming that I'm trying to look younger than I am. But other than that, I act my age, my nigga. I don't go out with my little homies to do nothing in their age range. Because what am I doing there? I look like a jackass.
No, this is what I'm saying. I'm talking about like, right? If I go to my hood right now, I call the people there leftovers, right? Because that's what the pilgrims call you. They got like little blogs and stuff when they be gentrifying the neighborhood. They be calling certain blocks. They tell with the amount of black people, they say they leftovers. Wow. And there'll be dudes in my hood like they older than me. They was outside before me. And you outside smoking weed with young niggas that's 16, 17 years old. Like, you bucking out. You drinking alcohol in red cups and smoking weed on the corner with kids that are old enough to be your grandchildren. Like, you bugging out. Nah, son, I don't smoke with them. Like, there's a line that I expressed with them, and I'm a grown man.
Myself.
Right, but even like, you know, you have family members, and I might have a little cousin, and he, you know what I'm saying, he got his man. Like, nah, yeah, I can't. There's a certain line that even my parents and them, you know what I'm saying, even when I got to a certain age that I was smoking, my mom's would be like, nah, dude, you can't smoke with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? We not friends. You feel me? We not social. You do what you do, and we do what we do over here. You know what I'm saying? And too many of these dudes, they dress, like you said, like you wear sweats, but I'm talking about they got dudes, they 50 years old, they got their pants hanging off their ass, they got Balenciagas on. They like, yo, son, you look like a clown. Like, you look like Peter Pan, you know what I'm saying, broke out of the fucking nursing home or something. Like, what are you doing? You can't.
Then you putting the what's the shit? What's the color shit? What's the name of that shit? The Beijing. Yeah, niggas throwing the debate. Bro, I'm 55. I'm cool with my grades. You know what I mean? I work too hard to get mine.
I earned every last one of them. That I get indignant in the store if they ask me for ID. I'm like, what? Like, man, I'm too old to be asking me for some damn ID. Like, don't disrespect me.
I work too hard for mine. I'm not trying to stick mine up.
Yeah.
So, you dudes Beijing and making fake hairlines, and like this is ridiculous, my nigga.
And it makes us, you know, and those tropes, they use those tropes to define all black men, right? Like,
That's the point.
I be around dudes that, even with the whole sexual thing, like, we grown men. Like, if I go someplace where we walk into a restaurant and there's a woman and she got a fat ass, you ain't got to say it to me. I seen it. We ain't teenagers no more, son.
Oh,
You
the
got to show
woman got a fat
some
ass.
tact about that.
I don't.
You know what I mean? It be grown men. It's like, yo, son, yo, she got a fucking wagon. Like, yo, my nigga, you can't keep it together. Like, that's high school, like, public school shit. Like, we grown men. Like, I can appreciate it. I took a picture in my mind, but I'm not thinking about trying to bag home girl or, you understand? It's just, yo, she got a
That's
nice body.
bad, home girl.
Well, I ain't trying to, today I don't want the problems with it. These young women today, they
Oh
got
no,
a
I
different.
definitely. I don't look like to see, and I keep it age appropriate too. I don't want no young, like.
No turn up girls. Yeah, I'm not. I'm cool with that.
See, none of
I
us
don't need that.
25, but she telling everybody.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
what do you talk with these women about? Like, what are we gonna have a discussion about on the same level? You understand? Like, you're a child to me. Still, regardless of whatever your age is, your mentality is still not up to par to me for us to be in the same vicinity without there being some type of circumstances. You know what I mean? But me being around a woman that's in her 20s or early 30s,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm slumming. Like, I'm like, what am I doing with this baby? Because she still doesn't have the same context or experience that I had.
Yeah. Brother Oba, real quick though, because I know, I mean, this is a dope conversation, but I definitely,
Oh, we getting out of what we was supposed to be talking
yeah,
about.
I definitely want to dive into this African spirituality.
Let's talk about it.
All right. I want you to introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, so
Hold on, because I'm gonna give you the context and let you fly.
All right, so
Introduce to people who you are, your qualifications, and what brought you to the level that you are. Because I know you're a priest, but I want you to explain it to the people who may not know who you are in your
okay.
function.
So my name is Oba Oyuma Talib Olukayode. Right? That was the name that was given to me at birth. My mother is the child born after a set of twins in my family. So in 1968, my uncle went to a Black Power conference with a brother by the name of Omar Umar and the New Black Africans, and he saw a man by the name of Walter King there, who became known as Osurgiman Adefumi. And in this lecture, he said that the true religion of the black man was voodoo. And my uncle heard this. He must have been about 18 years old. He was in college. He thought this was most profound. And he started to do his research, and one of the books that he came across was African Philosophies by Sheikh Anta Diop. And from that, he started doing his diligence. So that by 1968, he had met a guy by the name of Dayo, who was a priest, who was a direct priest from one of the very first priests that were not Cuban, that were initiated in Cuba. Her name was Asunta Serrano, or Saunco. She was a Puerto Rican woman. And Adeosi gave my uncles their first initiation process, which is to receive what they call the elekes, these beads that are given to you as not necessarily protection, but they give you license that someone's deities or their orishas are looking over you in protection of you. They received their lekes in 1968 on Palm Sunday, and when they came home, my grandmother was in the kitchen and she felt their presence. As she turned around and she saw her two sons wearing all white with these beads on. They was like all proud that they was African and shit. Like, look, mama, we got our beads. And my grandmother recognized the change immediately in them. And so 2 weeks later, my grandmother went and got some beads. And so my family has been involved in Orisha traditions since 1968. So my grandmother has 4 children, a set of twins, my mom, and then my Uncle Charles. Ibaye to know. He's passed away. The only one alive now is my Aunt Joan, the eldest of the twins. So when my family got involved in the traditions, they got involved with the first African American house or temple that was proficient and they spoke English, right? It was about a brother who passed away a couple of years ago by the name of Baba Lloyd Weaver. Now, interestingly enough, Lloyd Weaver is a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass. Like, he looks like Frederick Douglass. His family comes from Baltimore. They carry the Bailey name and all that. His father, he comes from a long family of Black Power people that his father used to work for the Amsterdam News. He created a temple for Black Americans to practice these traditions because they were brought here by Cubans initially, right? So before we even get to the Nigerian thing, the first people that really propagate Orisha were like the Cubans. And they came in the late 40s to the 50s. So my family being involved in it, all of my aunts and my uncles were initiated. Everybody was initiated by no later than 85, 86, right? So I grew up in these traditions. So with all the madness that was happening in Brooklyn, there was these little hubs of God in these brownstones, right? So Lloyd Weaver lived on Macon between Tompkins and Troop. Down the block from him was a famous another priest by the name of James Hawthorne Bay, Chief Bay, who goes in like these people. Everybody that I'm talking about, these people go back into Black Renaissance, right? They come by way of either intellectualism, like scholarship, or by way of the arts, either dance and drum. So my entire family was initiated before the 90s. I grew up in the tradition. Now, my best friend's mother was a very prominent priest. She used to have a house on Quincy Street between Marcus Garvey and Lewis. Her name was Osei M. Chowdhury. Her son was my best friend, and she was my godmother at the time. That's who took care of me. So when we're growing up, they were having a ceremony in this house, and they said the next person that walks in the door has to be initiated. And it just so happened it was my best friend. He had gone to the store for somebody. And they didn't make the diligence to get him initiated. And I ended up going to jail. And when I came home from jail in 1994, he died from subsequent gunshot wounds he received in August of that year, earlier that year. And if you go down Marcus Garvey, he's on a mural on Madison and Marcus Garvey. It's two young guys painted on the wall. And him and my other best friend is on that wall.
Marcus Garvey.
Right across the street from 44 Park.
My daughter grew up on Quincy.
Okay.
Between
Okay.
Marcus Garvey and Troop.
Okay, so you by the orange buildings, the Matrix, we call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the block past that grocery store.
Yeah. So when my best friend died, I cursed God. I hated God. You know what I mean? I didn't want anything to do with the tradition. I was upset. I was despondent to everything. And for the next, I don't know, from 94 to about maybe the next 10 years, I was just in and out of the streets like real bad. So my mom got sick. My mom got sick in 2002. But what was most profound about it, I was running away from it. And one time they had a ceremony and I got possessed. And I got possessed and my spirit came and told them that my mother was sick. And that my mother and my grandfather, death didn't know which one to take first, but they were going to go in some order of either my mother first and my grandfather, or my grandfather and then my mother. It was a very profound situation, because I didn't believe in none of that, but that should happen, right? So, my aunt told her sister that she needed to go to the hospital, and my mother eventually went to the doctor. And then one day, out of nowhere, she just had fourth-stage cancer, and she was dying. And But on her deathbed, she was like, my mom's was like, she's not like the average. Like I didn't have the traditional relationship with a parent that most people have. My mom, like I said, my mom was a hippie, right? And so she was very interesting in terms of like her views on things. So like by the time I got to be about 15, 16, she recognized that, he in the street. And so she wasn't flushing crack down in the toilet in my house. She's like, oh, so you a man now. You on the corner? Well, there's a vig around here. You got to help with the rent. That's just what it is. You ain't going to have them knocking on my door. And you know what I mean? You a man. I can't stop you. I keep telling you to stay off that corner. Well, now you pay a vig. So the first thing I ever paid in my house was the phone bill. Like, yo, the phone bill yours now. So we had that type of relationship. But so when she's on her deathbed, she says to me, I never asked you to graduate from high school. I never asked you to go to college. I never asked you to bring me no kids. She said, but the only thing I'm asking you to do is to make sure that you go get yourself initiated before you close your eyes. And that was in 2002. She passed away. And from that point on, I made it my business to really like immerse myself in my tradition. And so every question or every dead end that was there, I made it my business to find out what was going on. Eventually in 2005, my uncle made it so that me and my 3 cousins would travel to Havana, Cuba and get initiated. And that was a culture shock. You know what I mean? Because this is at a time when Cuba really wasn't open like that. And it was a culture shock, and it was a humbling because it got me to see how people can function with the least amount of things and still have their dignity, right? And still find pleasure in life, right? And, because you go there and people, they got rations and they be willing to give you their rations. Like, yeah, you want some coffee, you want something to eat, and you know what I mean? It might not be what you used to, but you have to take it because this is all they have. And the fact that they've necessarily offered it to you, like you got to be humble. And I got initiated, and then there was I guess it was like the lost in translation. There was a problem, like my Spanish wasn't good then. And so then I autocratically taught myself how to speak Spanish, that I could be able to talk to them and have conversations with them. Like I didn't learn in Rosetta Stone. I just literally put my mind to just like being around them and understanding what they were saying and listening more with my heart than with my ears. Because irregardless of the words, people still express the same energy and the same concepts. And so it got to a point where it was like kind of effortless that I began to understand them and be able to articulate to them. And then I began to study as a priest, and then I had the luxury of going back to Cuba in like 2017. And when I went back, I connected with one of my godparents there. And now I was fluent in Spanish, you know what I mean? And I began to, I got caught where I was just back there every other week. Like I was literally from 2017 to about COVID, I had probably gone about 20 times, right? And then COVID happened and then it kind of slowed up. But then I have, like I said, I have a relationship with many of the older priests there. Like they call me on WhatsApp. I talk to them. And I became the mediator between the Cuban community and the Black American community, because there was at some point they had cut each other off, where the Black Americans weren't dealing with the Cubans, and whatever information that they had, they utilized it, but they were still a little handicapped. Me being able to go to Cuba and being able to talk to the people and receive certain things that hadn't gotten here yet, I was able to make those connections with people where they, you know what I mean? That people were able to understand certain things where they were like, there was a question mark there because it was lost in translation. There was nobody there to articulate it to them. And so after being initiated and so on and so forth, I took up the well, it started because one of my friends, my man Chris, y'all know Chris. You know Chris?
Yeah.
So Chris got initiated with my godfather, and we got real cool. And Chris was like, "Yo, you got to talk about this because there's people speaking and they're not speaking the right information." And I started to, get involved and start to do small little lectures and, appearances. And somebody on one of the, I think it was Ambassador Assar, we did a show. And somebody was in like buttfuck Kansas or Wisconsin somewhere. And the person was like, well, how can I participate? And it was a conundrum because I'm like, I don't know nobody out there that does that. You know what I mean? So I took that concern back to my uncle Ibaye before he passed away, and we had these long conversations about. He was like, about what Black people needed in terms of to edifying themselves spiritually, and my uncle was like spiritualist, and I was like, what you mean? He was like, because it doesn't require a culture shock. Like, we're not killing no chickens. You know what I mean? You don't have to wear white. There's no hierarchy. It's really about your spiritual abilities. He says, and it don't cost nothing. All it costs is the glass of water and the candle. And he used to say that to me all the time, like, because he would come to my house, he'd see my altar, there wouldn't be no water in the glasses. He'd be like, you see? He'd be like, now you know why you going through what you're going through. And I'd be like, man, fuck them glasses. He's like, glass of water and the candle gonna save you. And when he became sick and when he was going through his trials and tribulations, I started to take the information that he gave me and I started to apply it. And immediately my life started to change. So that I was still in the street even now I was initiated. And one day my godfather, he was like, yo, sit down, I'm gonna read you. And he read me. And he was like, yo, no more. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, yo, man, I never said nothing to you about what you do in the street. I never, judge you. I never told you to put a cap on it. He was like, but today it says no more. You got to do this spiritual stuff 24 hours. And I was like, Paino, that shit don't pay. He was like, yo, it'll sustain you. It'll provide. And I made that change 13 years ago. And I can honestly say that my quality of life has improved immensely. You know what I mean? Just with the amount of stresses that I alleviated myself from, and we have a saying, they say you have eyes in the front of your head and not in the back, so don't be looking backwards. And so I moved on and I left the hood and I graduated from it. Like, you know what? I put too much time in this and out this, and there was nothing to come out of it. Let me take this time to now put my efforts towards God, right? And, even when I was getting money in the streets, I never had my own apartment. I never had a car that was legal. I never, you know what I'm saying? These things that I'm afforded now as to be a man, to be like, yo, my name is on the lease. Like, nah, shorty, you gotta go. You gotta go. You know what I mean? When I was couch surfing and all that. So eventually, like I said, I wrote this book called Glass of Water and a Candle to express to people the fact that all of this African stuff, you still do it, but you just don't know that you do it, right? You just don't know that you still, like, you have these nuances, this epigenetically imprinted upon you, right? So when I wrote the book to necessarily get rid of the spookisms of any type of thing that was not of the three major religions. So the reality is that the profound concept that was brought to me was the fact that all religion is ancestral worship. All religion, right? If you believe in Jesus and he lived and died, he's an ancestor. Same for Muhammad, same for Abraham, same for Siddhartha. And to go even further, if you want to talk about astrology, well, guess what? The stars are dead, right? You are worshiping dead things. So with that being said, why not give light and memory to the closest things that are dead to you, those who are your family members, those who you can actually trust, right? Now, I would give y'all like a million hours of just phenomena that I've witnessed in my own life, where it would be like just a glass of water and a candle, and literally, like one day, I was literally taking care of one of my uncles. He just passed away. He was suffering from multiple sclerosis, and I used to take care of him. And the situation was that his little pension and all that didn't pay enough to take care of him. So I used to still have to go outside and scramble. And I remember one day I was going out to scramble, and then in the glass, my spirit was like, "Yo, man, change the water." And I was like, "Yeah, when I get back." And then I heard this loud voice in my head say, "All I ask is for some stinking water." And I was like, he was like, "I don't ask you for a chicken. I don't ask you for a drum. I don't ask you for nothing else but some clean water." And I stopped. And instead of going outside and being on the, you know what I mean, I stopped what I did. I took care of my glasses, my altars. I freshened everything up. And when I got to the block, they was like, "Yo, they just came through and swept this thing, right?" And I was like, "Oh, word." And that's just one of many times that it would necessarily, that little bit of time changed, of course. I could have got jammed up in all of that, right? And had a whole lot of problems thereafter. But that glass of water, taking the time to wash it, so that the concept of the taking care of this altar is that you perform the very first sacrifice, which is of time and space, right? Because you don't control time nor space, but you can give it freely. You can give your time freely and you can give up your space freely, but you don't control it. So when you erect this altar for your mom, your dad, your cousin, your best friend, whoever, imagine it being a phone booth that you get to talk to them at. And you bring them flowers, water, a candle, maybe some incense, and they're going to provide with you luck, opportunity, right? And peace. Because as you give them these things, they require these things in their world. Like, and the movie Coco was the best, like, modern conversation about that, about the fact that if you don't have this connection, if they forget about you, then you can't be honored, right? Because memory is what connects us all to our ancestors or to anything. It's by memory. You see something and it reminds you of someone that that passed away. That is them giving you a symbol of that they need to be uplifted, so that it's a reciprocal relationship between yourself and the spirit world. I give them a glass of water, a candle, some flowers, and some prayer. Now, those 4 things that I gave, those all coincide with the 4 elements that we are surrounded by: water, air, fire, earth. A glass of water for your dreams. Then they say when you dream, the water is there because you swallow in your dream while you sleep. Even when you're sleeping, you swallow. You put the flowers for your sense of earth because your sense of smell is attached to the concept of the element earth, right? Then you give the candle obviously for fire, but it's to see. And then the prayer, which is air, so that you can hear. Now you've just given these 4 components to the spirit world to explain to them how they have to interface with you. So by one of these 4 mediums, you can come talk to me. I might see you in a dream. I might see your apparition. I might hear your voice, or I might even smell you, right? Because it's been times where I knew my father was around because I could smell him, right? The aftershave that he wear, like it would just pass by my nose and I'd be like, "Oh shit." And I know that smell. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that when I began to get my altar, I got that scent to put on his altar so that he would have it and I could use it to remember him. Right? Because they say nobody wants to die alone and unknown. That is the fear of the average person. That nobody want to get clipped off and be left in an alley and decay and nobody know where you at. Right? And so that the ability to always be remembered is what keeps us alive. And it's a mechanism that, like I said, it was something that I ran from for so long, and it would every time it would just reappear in my face every time. So that we here now because me and Ahmed got cool from different circumstances, and literally one day I was in his brother's house and I saw the spirit of my man Juicy Ray walking through the house, and I was like, "Yo, son, you know my man?" And he was like, "Who?" And I was like, "My man Uzi Juicy." He was like, "Is Juicy Ray?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yo, son, I ain't heard that name in so long. How the fuck you know that name?" I was like, "Yo, I just seen this nigga walk through your crib." Feel me? He was like, "Nah, son, that's not." I'm like, "Yo, man, I'm telling you, I used to go to school with boy, blah, 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 right?" Because the connections, you never lose those connections, right? So, funny thing, y'all know Hawk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Big Hawk, right?
right.
Big.
Oh, Larry.
Yeah, Larry. Larry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I had to like it took me 96, like when everybody was talking about Hawk, cause I came home in 95, everybody was talking about Hawk. Larry is my man, like me and Larry the same block.
right.
St. James
So,
between Gates and Green.
so now
Larry went away to the military and I ain't seen him for a while. Then when I came home, everybody talking about Hawk, he working with Big.
so people, I don't know him. I don't know nothing. Chris bring him to his house for me to give him a reading, right? And this was the very first time I had ever seen a spirit of somebody
Yo, this is what's
that
crazy. You was who Hawk told me about when I came home, my nigga.
listen to me. I'm in the crib and I'm reading them and I'm like, and my spirit is like, look, and I see a man peek out from the back room. I said, nah, nigga, that's not who I thought I was just seeing. Get the fuck out of here. Spirit said, nah, that's him. I said, nah, son, don't play with me. He said, nah, it's him. So I'm like, yo, I don't know what's going on here, my nigga, but I don't know why in the world, but I keep seeing the notorious B.I.G. here, my nigga. Why is he here in your house? That nigga said, they looked at each other, and nigga said, yo, my nigga, I got that nigga birth certificate in my crib in the frame. I said, get the fuck out of here, my nigga. He said, yeah, son, I used to be his road manager for a minute. I said, yo, my nigga, I'm telling you that nigga's here. Like, he around. He was like, well, what he's saying? I'm like, the nigga saying that whatever it is, he's like, yo, he ain't got no, you know what I mean, no smoke with you. You know what I'm saying? He love you.
Yeah.
The nigga was like, yo, son, I was like, yo, you gotta understand this shit's fucking with me, my nigga, because I never seen no shit like this in my life.
That's because Hawk bounced that bread.
You feel me?
Talk about that bread.
That's crazy. Yo, I ain't got no smoke with you.
Yo, listen. So now understand that was the first time that ever happened to me. Like I was like, I thought I was tripping. Like my nigga, I done smoked some weed. I'm sitting here giving this nigga a reading. I don't know what the fuck is happening, right? And this nigga's like, no. Nah. And then that later on, he showed me the birth certificate in a frame. It's Christopher Latore Wallace. I was like, look at that. He said that nigga ain't had no ID, son. I used to have to use this to get on the plane with him. I said, get the fuck out of here, right? Now, then me and Hawk are connected like 10 other different ways that I didn't know. Like we know like the same people, and you know what I'm saying? Like you sometimes you miss people because you might not have been there that day, but you know the same people. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And that shit was so profound because, like I said, like, you know, you think it's just in your world. And then something that is fun. Because I seen Big like one time in my life. I think he was like on the side of S&D smoking a blunt or some shit like that, right? And I seen the nigga and I was bowed down and shit, you know what I'm saying? But at the time, I was still a hood nigga. Like, yeah, we ain't fitting the fan out because of you, my nigga. Like, you the guy, but all right, my nigga, keep it pushing, you feel me? And so I was like, I don't have no connection. Why is the spirit showing? Why is this man here? I don't understand. But that allowed me to understand that this wasn't just in my world. This shit was all connected. You feel me? And so now, like I said, Today, I ain't gonna hold you. I live a good life. I don't get into nobody's traffic to go to nobody's plantation. I gotta argue with Mr. Charlie. You know what I'm saying? Or Miss Ann. You know what I mean? My rent gets paid. I'm not booking nobody. I don't do anything to anybody that they don't, you know what I'm saying, that they didn't ask for. I live peacefully, right? And I can honestly say it's because of the attention that I give to that altar. You feel me? Because if I'm having a bad day, I'll come in the crib and I'll look at my glasses are dirty. I'm like, oh, all right. Let me, you know what I'm saying? I'm moving too fast. Let me slow down. Let me take this time to wash these glasses and set this up and meditate for a minute so that I can resort things out.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, right? Like, because I like, did you see the shit where you see apparitions?
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing that shit since I was a little nigga.
So hold on. Before you even go,
Like
what's your birthday,
when I got October 2nd. But when I got stabbed, bro, like I told Moose this shit. Bro, I was blanking out and Big was shaking his head no.
So I'm gonna tell you something. All your life, you have not been good on ladders or stairs. You got to be careful going up and down the stairs, my nigga. I don't know if at some point somebody tried to push you down some stairs or if you fell down some stairs, but you got to be careful with stairs and ladders, okay? It also says you got to take care of your hips, that when you go to sleep, you should put a pillow between your legs so that you don't wake up with hip issues, right?
Got hip issues.
Listen, and you also got to be careful. Your mind, it says that your mind is stronger than you know. If you think about somebody, 2 days later, you'll run into them. If you think bad thoughts about somebody, like, I hope that bro get hit by a truck, you'll hear a couple years later, yo, you know, such and such got hit by a train. You'd be like, right? Because it says that everything starts in the mind. The people that have that, that's why you went gray very early in your life, right?
Yeah, I've been getting gray since I've been having where first strands, then a patch, then shit started just coming everywhere.
Okay.
As a teenager.
The most important thing, it says that don't ever watch other people's children. Okay? Don't let somebody leave their child with you or whatever. Nah, you take them with them because they said there's this thing where it talks about there's a lot of spiritual energy around you, right? And it's wise and it's very stern, right? So like you're not used to kids that's climbing all over the fucking couch and wilding out. That shit bothers you. You be like, yo, you don't get your kids, man. What's wrong with y'all? Right?
You know, but the odd shit is I love like little badass kids.
You love them.
I love them.
But don't watch them.
No,
because what happens is
I try not to watch them for too long.
So there's a story. It's a story about this dude named Maywa, and he was a sorcerer, and it was his job to take bad spirits off of people, and he would put them in this closet in this attic that he had. And he was a good dude. So one day, a family had suffered from a fire, and they needed a place to stay, and they had a daughter, so they came to stay with him. And he allowed them to stay with them, and then they got it in their mind that he would watch them so that they could go try to search for employment. And he agreed. But he had one rule. He said, listen, don't ever go up that ladder to that attic. Right? And one day, the little girl got curious because from down up, she could look up and she could see shadows coming from the attic. So she became curious and she climbed up the ladder. And when she pulled the sheet back, what she saw frightened her so much that she fell back off the ladder and she broke her head. And when the parents came to find her, they cursed Maywa. because they was like, oh, this is not how we left our daughter, right? But not considering the fact that their daughter was succumb to curiosity. This says that people in your situation, when they were born, their parents, their father might have had another woman, and that woman cursed the new child because she didn't have a child with the man. You feel me? And this is why this person, sometimes they find themselves like right about to everything's about to go good, and then all of a sudden the fucking train come and knock shit the fuck down. You feel me?
Yeah. And that,
So
I could definitely see my pops spanking something and her getting mad.
yeah, and then she find out your mom is pregnant, and now she's like,
dude like me.
no, that's real shit. Let me tell you, it says you got to be careful that you don't make your own monsters. You know, like what's that shit? Ghostbusters, when they're on the roof and they be like, "Don't think of nothing," and they could be like, "Oh shit!" They're like, "What's that?" It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. so you have to necessarily take control of the things, and so that you got to be careful. Don't go to sleep and the ID channel is on, and they're talking about serial killers and all that kind of shit, right? Because that shit will poison your mind, and your mind is powerful enough to manifest things that it just heard about. Feel me? Because the reality is, so I'm gonna show you how powerful your mind is, right? We all know you had a situation, right? But that shit could have been worse. But it was because when the shit was going down and they was trying to put the fucking puzzle together, you was like trying to make that shit go away. You was trying to fucking wish that shit away. Feel me? And the situation could have been worse, right? If you had not put your mind on it. I promise you that. I promise you that. You understand what I'm saying?
Shit, it definitely was looking nasty.
Right. And you
on both sides, because I had the state case first.
Right.
And they was talking about the 15 to life. That's before they knew that they didn't give me my persistent hearing.
So the day when it was a moment when you was sitting in the cab when you made a decision that you was coming home. It was a turning point. It was something that happened with, and not necessarily happened. It was just something in your mind where you was like, "My nigga, I'm done with this shit. I gotta get the fuck out of here." Feel me? And then your situation changed from that point on. You feel me? So you got to be careful with people coming and taking too much. We have a saying: after the bacon is fried, how much fat is left? Don't give too much of yourself that you don't have nothing left for yourself. You feel me? Real talk. And this is why this goes, and the reason why I'm going into all of this is because you see spirits. So they talk about people like us, before we walk into a room, we should jiggle our keys so that we alert the spirits that we coming through, because we walk in between two worlds and you might sneak up on a spirit. You feel me?
Yo, this was crazy, right? I saw my grandmom's like a couple of weeks after she passed. But I ain't know. You know what I'm saying? We ain't even know. Like I'm still down south. I'm living down south. So I come out my room going in the bathroom. My grandma's walking up the hallway. You know what I'm saying?
And this is before she transitioned.
This before I knew she transited. This before
right.
She tried.
Okay.
She probably transitioned like a couple days before.
Right. No, this is what I mean.
She just came and smiled at me.
Listen, that number that you got with you is so it's so powerful that how many times has water like burst in your house. Like there was a water, like some shit where there was water in the basement or on the floor, and water was all over the place.
Probably about in the last 5 years, 3 times.
That is it's like the buildup of spiritual energy around you that it burst the pipes around you.
But also, my name is Balogun.
There you go.
You know what
So
I'm saying?
you're the general.
And I got like being that being that I love research and shit, so I just researched my name, blah blah blah. So that's how I decided to study Ifa.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I got I just got certain, like once I got into, I just got certain things tattooed.
Okay.
I got Eshu, Shango. I got the warriors. You know what I'm saying? I got Eshu, Shango, Oshosi, and Ogun.
Okay.
And then for some reason, like it like it attracts my spirit like a leopard. So I got a leopard tattoo with Ashe on it.
Oh no, that's the mix right there. So the leopard is the most important symbol in Orisha tradition, right? So like my name on Instagram is Ekun7. Ekun is the name of the leopard, right? And the Ekun is very important because so we don't have what they call the devil. We have an opposing force that lives in the center of the earth that emanates. And everybody that lays on the ground is affected by this energy. The leopard is not affected by that energy because he sleeps in a tree. And so he's affected by the energy of the sun and not the sun in the center of the earth, right? And so everything in Yoruba cosmology is about the leopard because the leopard is actually the king of all cats. It's not the lion. The leopard. When they say Leo, Leo is the first letters of leopard, not lion, right? So, and if you get close enough on a line, you can see his spots under that, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Okay. So the leopard, if you ever seen them, when they do things in Orisha, when they feed the Orisha, the entire conversation is about this celestial leopard, right? So when they're doing the bloodletting, they say, yakin ya loro bara yakin ya loro bara yakin ya loro bara Yahweh said loro eranje ekunde. It says get the blood and the meat before the leopard comes, right? Or like the leopard comes. Because leopards don't eat on the ground. They kill it and they drop it 3 times to make sure it's dead, and then they grab it and they take it up in the tree. And we believe that that's how we send our sacrifices up to heaven, that we leave it for the leopard to take up into the proverbial tree, into the heaven, right? So when you see the people and they get initiated and they got all of them dots all over them, that's to represent the leopard, right? So the leopard is the one thing that connects all of the esoteric knowledge of the world. So when they talk about Kemet, the first deity in Kemet was Bats. He was a pygmy, right? And all of the images they have of him, he has a leopard pelt on, right?
Little short with the bed.
Yeah, exactly. He's a pygmy, right?
Yeah.
So this is why they said that all of the doors to all of the king's chambers and all of the temples are like 4 feet high because they're not made for men, they're made for the pygmy. The pygmy is important because he is the only human being on the planet that can procreate with his sister or cousin and they will not have any defects. His DNA is perfect, right? So that the whole conversation about the Sirius Star B is that every 60 to 50 years, when the star comes around, they say the pygmies used to come out of the forest and they would marry one of their women or their men to the because they're known as the Twa. And so you have the Twa, and then all of the people that are from Central all the way up to Western Africa are Kwa speaking people, right? So before the remnants of Islam, all of the people from all the way from Morocco down spoke a Kwa speaking language. This is what they later categorized as Bantu, right? So the Kwa and the Twa come together when the Twa come out of the forest and marry one of their people into our tribes to replenish the gene pool, right? So that you see that in every society, whenever they got like some indigenous society and somebody show up, they always give them some kind of high water. They be like, here, take the young girl. Because the old indigenous people understood that they could not continue to just breed amongst themselves, or else they would start to breed the defects. So they're always looking for new blood to replenish the gene pool so that the people will, the bloodline will expand. So this leopard thing, it goes, like I said, what they have in Cuba is known as the Abakwa people from Cameroon, the Ekpe Ijar people. They worship a leopard. The Yoruba worship a leopard. The Twa worship a leopard. Even the royalties of Europe, when you see them and they got that robe on, it's a leopard pelt with a purple robe. This is what indicates us that there was at some point a federation of information around the entire globe, that the globe was not disconnected. Just because they didn't have no Wi-Fi don't mean that they weren't talking to each other.
But we got to also remember most of the royalty, the original royalty in Europe was of African descent too.
Oh no, this is
where
absolutely
they get all those practices from.
Absolutely. And what happened was they got disconnected after the Ice Age, right? So when the Ice Age came, they were cut off from the rest of the world because nobody could cross the ice. So that in that time they were isolated amongst themselves, and in that time is when the Europeans began to miscegenate or to copulate with the Neanderthals. See, because the original Europeans, the original white people, are really just albinos, right? They're albinos that sought refuge out of Africa because of the sun. But when the Ice Age came, in order to survive, they had to miscegenate with the Neanderthal because the Neanderthal was built for the winter. So when the Ice Age recedes and the Moors show up, they realize that the people have devolved, right? So the men can't feed the women. So they tell them, take the women. So this is when you see the Moors and they got these paintings of the women with the chains around their necks and the harems were born. And they took those women out of there and they began to procreate with them in what we call the Middle East. And that became what they know as the Semitic people, the Sephardic people. This is what York and them were trying to explain in terms of the quote unquote grafted man concept, right? That because before the Moors,
it was a process, but I don't think it was no laboratory shit.
No, it's not a laboratory. It's a
I mean, you know, like how they explained.
Yeah, how they explained it. No, that was like
the
Memorex shit. Yeah.
It's just through natural progression.
Absolutely. Well, you got to remember, not just Africa, right? So we talk about the Americas, we talk about Asia and really Western Asia, because there's no real Europe. It's not a continent, it's part of Asia, right? So
Peninsula Asia.
When you talk about civilization, all civilizations, once they become civilized, they begin to make a distinction about the people who are dissonant or who do not follow the rules of the society. So they're not going to put you in a cage and feed you because that's just not productive. So they're either going to kill you or they're going to excommunicate you. When they excommunicate you, you are now left to forage in the wilderness on your own. And so what ends up happening is all those people who get necessarily excommunicated begin to necessarily band together, and now they become these bands of nomadic marauders. They don't have any women with them because you can slap the women up when they don't act right. There's no need to excommunicate them, right? So you got a band of men who are like living like on some Lord of the Flies business because they're out and they have no society. So over time, we build walls to keep them out. So this is why you see there's the Great Wall of Benin. There's the Great Wall of China. Keep the Mongolians out because they keep sacking the joint. Somebody gave them a job. Somebody was like, you know what? We're going to give them a job. And this is how they became the traders and the trade routes were born. Because they're the nomads. You can't really carry goods from one space to the next safely because there's a bunch of marauders out in the wilderness who, if they see you, they're going to sack your little, you know what I mean, your little caravan. So you give them the job. Look, you take these berries over there and bring back the collard greens, whatever it is, the exchange is. And in that, those people, when they come to those cities that they're not allowed in, they're in the outskirts. This is when prostitution is born, so that the civilized society allows them access to the women that are barren. They can't have no kids, but you can sleep with them. While you're here and while we're fixing up the next caravan for you to take and get out of here, and you can have your little weight. And we'll give you a little bit of church. So this is a very Yoruba concept. We have an Orisha by the name of Oba, who is the wife of Shango. And she's afforded the credit of creating writing and arithmetic. And the reason for this is because she is an Orisha of grain. The Orisha mother of her is the Orisha that brought rice to the world. And when rice came to the world, or grain came into the world, you can no longer antiquate the exchange. Meaning, if I have corn, I can give you 10 kernels of corn as a payment. But the rice is too meticulous for me to count. So we're taking the rice by the hand, but each hand is not equal to each other. And so now we're forced to create the scale. And in the scale, what has been weighed must be recorded. And so in order for it to be recorded, it must be written. And so this is why the original languages and alphabets all coincide. The letters coincide with a number. They're antiquated because it had to do with keeping stock of the grain, right? And so as they took grain and this became tradable, this is when the trade routes became more and more popular because people could trade the grain between one another, right? So the writing and arithmetic is now taught to the nomads to carry because they are the distributors of the goods. So we give them the teachings of how to understand the manifest that they got to return to, come back to the other kingdom with, so that the paperwork is up to par. So in teaching them that, they realize that these people don't have a homeland. They're nomadic. They're wandering all over the place. And at some point, they are looking for a homeland. So this is why they talk about the Abrahamic faith, the first one being so real estate interested. They're always talking about this land because they're nomads. They didn't come from the land. They're looking, God is saying, that, oh, I'm going to give y'all some real estate. Just chill. Because they don't got nowhere to go. Because when they show up someplace, they're not allowed there for too long. Like, yo, y'all got to get out of here. You feel me? In them creating a homeland and now having this system of writing and arithmetic, they become the bankers. Because the bank is pretty much just a fort where you leave your gold and I can say that ain't nobody gonna come in here and take it. I got this, right? And so they created the banking system. Now, all of this is based off of their over-the-shoulder observation of the African civilizations. Because there's a problem in the scholarship that we talk about when they talk about Black scholarship, and me and Knowledge talked about this before. there's an issue. If you like, I believe in Kemet, but I don't believe it's the first civilization. It cannot be the first civilization. Because if we agree that Kemet and Sumeria were using coins, then they could not have been the first civilization, because the first tradable currency that was not edible, not salt or not corn, is a cowrie shell. And there's no cowrie shells on the walls in Sumeria. They're using coins by then, so they're after. And the Yoruba have always traditionally used cowrie shells as a means of currency. So much so that if you go to China, the first coins that were ever cast are called brown cowries, right? So the scholarship has not caught up with the evidence, because the evidence says that the cowrie shell, this is known throughout the world. You looking up in the encyclopedia, and it's always been there that the cowrie shell was the first currency. Well, then how is Kemet the first civilization if they're using coins? Because they ain't got no cowrie shells on the wall. So that means that there's something that predates them that just became irrelevant.
Well,
right? Because they go to a place like Yoruba land or even to the Congo, the problem is that people respect intelligence based off of the megaliths that were constructed. So they're stuck with the pyramids because they're in awe of it. But in the Congo, they cannot build pyramids because they can't cut the trees down because the trees are sacred, right? So we don't know what has grown over in what they call the Ndoki forest, in the Congo forest, because it's so old. So there's some gaps in the scholarship that, like when you talk about like Ifa being the perfection of divination, this conversation we're having right now is based off the principles of Ifa, of binary code. The cell phone, the Wi-Fi, this is all working off of Ifa right now, right? And so the Yoruba are an enigma because there's nothing written about them. They are not considered in the classical conversation of civilization, right? And their sense of time is very irrelevant to everyone else because they don't see time the same way that we do, because they believe that people come back and forth. So you could be Babatunde, it means you're the father of return, right? So which one are you talking about, right? So that they have a problem even dating with
400. You know
yeah, exactly, because they keep naming them over and over again, right? So they're like, what time you talking about? Which Babatunde, right? So they've had an issue. They've had an issue with
that's a Europe, because Europe trying to place they like the cave roaches trying to place themselves within history.
That's a fact.
So
that's a fact.
The closest connection that they can get is Sumeria and Egypt.
Right.
Because that's in closest proximity. If they go back, like even when, like I stated earlier, they already found ruins that's over 100,000 years old in Morocco of a well-planned city with wells and everything. So, and I mean a brick city.
Yo, they got the same thing in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. But this what I'm saying is like, but this is 100 and something years, 1,000 years old. You know what I mean?
No, just to say, like they got a wall in Zimbabwe.
No,
it's like about 200,000 years.
Great Zimbabwe wall.
Yeah.
but the joint in Morocco is recently found. It's old is a planned city that's old. Then you got one south of Merowe. They found ruins of a city older than that. So all you got to think about is they just trying to find proximity to them where they can say we come from antiquity. You know,
and that's the problem.
They didn't even exist in antiquity.
Yeah, because they're a mutation. That program wasn't born yet, right? And the problem with our people is that we are too zealous to find ourselves in the comic book of the three major religions. You feel me? We be trying to name ourselves, oh, that's us. No,
which are based off our spiritual myths.
exactly, but the only parts of them. They didn't get the whole thing.
It's based off of, but see, this is the thing, is what they make myth into their reality.
Certainly.
When actually the Africans know that these are myths and allegorical tales and
Certainly.
prove a point.
Let me tell you something. There's a book that I recommend. It's the only book my father forced me to read. It's called To Serve the Devil. Right? And there's 2 volumes of it, but it talks about the relationships and the treaties that occurred in the beginning.
What's the name of the book again?
To Serve the Devil. Yo, Jump, bring me my bag for me.
Who's the author?
I'm gonna give it to you right now. Something Falcon. Yeah, bring me a book bag, Jump. This book talks about the history of the United States from the treaties that were broken from the Europeans and all that, and it talks about the politics between the whole thing with the black and the Indian and all that. And in reading it, they get real graphic about some of the breaking of the treaties and how the natives would be slaughtered by the pilgrims because they would make a treaty, and then at nighttime the pilgrims would come in and slaughter all the babies and everybody. Right? It's written by Paul Jacobs and Saul Landau with Eve Pell. It's a culmination. It says Volume 1, Natives and Slaves, Volume 2, Colonies and Sojourners. It's called To Serve the Devil. It's the only book my father ever was like, yo, you better read this book, right? But anyhow, in reading the book, I understood the fear that they had based on the fact that all of that space shit is not real. That is the paranoia of the European. The idea that somebody is coming from the sky to come and do something to us, that is the white man's fear of him bullying the rest of the world, right? It's like the niggas in the can. You know, a nigga who think he the goon, he's always aggressive because he's waiting for the next goon to come in to make sure that he don't usurp him and take his spot, right? Because you done oppressed everybody else on the tier. Now he's like, yo, somebody new come through here. I gotta press you from the gate because if not, you might end up, you know what I'm saying, usurping me. Well, the same thing with this concept of UFOs. And the reason I say that is because for all the real ancient texts, they don't talk about no flying tuna cans. Feel me? If you have the technology to be here, yeah, if you got the technology to come here, it's based on you opening up a portal and you coming through the portal. You ain't coming in no tuna can with a million light years worth of jerky, space jerky on it and shit like that. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard, right? But I understood that the white man created that after the 1940s when they ran out of monsters. They ran out of Dracula. They ran out of Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. And they needed something to scare the people. And so they came up with this idea of all of this extraterrestrial shit, right? And then you got to look at the fact that all of the aliens got a head, 2 arms, and a leg. Well, they got that, then Allah made them, and I don't know how they showed up and they wasn't in the Quran. But they ain't in the Ifa. They don't talk about nobody showing up in the tuna can. But they do say that the deities ascend and descend at will. And the concept is such that you and I can get in the ocean and we can breathe in the ocean for a certain amount of time, but there are things in the ocean that live in the ocean that cannot come out to our atmosphere, right? They can't leave their world, but we can enter theirs. Well, the same thing in our world. There's something that can come down in here that we can't come out of here to see where it goes, right? It's levels to like the ocean. And so the dimensions are not based on some space and some other star. The Yoruba concept says that we all came from the ocean, right? So that you have to, this whole thing that they have about Atlantis, they're talking about a time when human beings weren't human beings, but you lived in the ocean and you were just as civilized and just as intelligent, because we don't give bacteria, we don't give plants the amount of intellect that we're supposed to, because we're really ignorant to what's really going on around us. You feel me? They're all in concert with each other. When you realize that you're in the forest and all of the trees are talking to each other, they know when you showed up. Oh snap! It's danger. It's one of them humans. He's smoking a cigarette. He might burn somebody. They know, right? But we don't give them the consideration because we have been indoctrinated with the whole, with those three philosophies. With, you know, man, we were made in God's image, and I'd be like, nah, I don't think so. Because you can't perceive God because you live in God. God is the ocean, and you're the fish. You can't live without God. You can't come out of that ocean to look at God, because you require everything about God to be around you. That's what makes God omnipotent, is the idea that you exist inside God, right? And spirit is just the current that influences you to go a certain way or not, right? But God is the entire ocean, or the entire container. So it's not God live inside of me. No, I live inside of God. I require all of this for God, all of God for this all to exist. You feel me? Because they ask a question, do fish know that they're in water? They don't, because they don't exist without it. Only when they come out of it and they're gasping for it will they have the contrast to know. So we live in God. Everything that is relative. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all relative. It's all omnipresent. It's all omnipotent in terms of God and God's will. You feel me? So when you alleviate yourself of that burden of an authoritarian consciousness, as opposed to an environment, a conscious environment is what God is to you. It's what everything is around you, and it provides or for you, and it gives you influence to necessarily move on and to find the perfect conditions for yourself. So once people get to that understanding, not even overstanding, just an understanding of that you begin to alleviate yourself and you do what is necessary and not what is extreme, right? Because they talk about mitigating circumstances, right? There's a truth about everything that is unbendable, but there are circumstances. So if a man crawls in my window and I shoot him and he dies, I'm a killer. That's the regard. It doesn't matter the connotation. I killed the man. I'm a killer. That's the truth. The mitigating circumstances are that he broke into my house and I did that. The gurus will say, did I have to kill him? Right? Did I go to the extreme? Could I have not pulled the gun on him and told him freeze and give him a chance to save his life? Could I have shot him in an appendage of his body that he didn't have to die? And so our karma is based on your excess of how much you push the line and for what reasons.
So, Brother Oba, yo, you dropped it. We went in overtime a little bit.
My bad.
Nah, it's all good, because we need you back. We need you back soon in ASAP, because we got to do a part 2. I'm quite sure a lot of people in the comments have questions. Look, yo, for real, this is the quietest we've heard the chats, because you've been hitting so many points just about our awareness and awakening. Where can the people follow you at? And any words you want to give the people before we get up out of here?
They go on Instagram. We got Omidina Productions on Instagram, and it's omidinaproductions.com on YouTube. Because I have classes that talk about spiritualism. I don't really right now. I don't like outside of people that are not initiated, I don't really talk too much about like the traditional secrets and stuff like that. But in terms of spiritualism, for the layman, I got like classes on how to begin. I got the book on Amazon, and I got an Orisha coloring book on Amazon too for children. This is for all ages, but it's a Orisha coloring book, and it comes in like 3 languages. It comes in English, Spanish, and French, right? Because those are the major languages that Orisha people are under, with the exception of also Portuguese. But I don't know nobody to translate it in Portuguese. But I yeah, Omidina Productions. We are a company that's committed to maintaining the traditions and the information and procuring the information. So like, if you go on my YouTube, I have interviews with John Mason. He's one of the foremost scholars and writers on the Orisha tradition. He's one of my elders. I have, like I said, classes on how to set up one's altar very simply. I talk about how to cleanse oneself spiritually. I talk about spiritual hygiene, right? When you understand that spirituality is like radiation almost, right? And when you go someplace that has radiation, you pick it up and then you take it with you and now you pass it on. So you have to be what is that? What's the word they have to have when they what they call that? When they go through the suits and all that, and they gotta get sprayed down and all that. You have to do the same thing spiritually, right?
Like,
Yeah. So like, and I'll give you a real quick example, and this is like
Decontaminate.
for real dudes that go through this is real simple, and this is a jewel for them. If you go to the strip club, understand that when that woman is rubbing up against you, she's rubbing all of the disappointment, the anxiety, and the bitterness on you, and taking your money. If you don't clean yourself off before you go home, this is how you end up into an argument or a fight with your baby mama, your wife, your girl, because you got that energy on you. You get into bed with her, and now she pick it up, and now she anxious, and now she worried about, right? And so this is how she know that you've been someplace else, and she start flipping out. So if my greatest advice is when you come out of those places, if there's some food, some bread, or even some leaves to clean yourself off, or keep some Florida water, or even some cologne. Spray yourself down with some cologne to get that aura off of you, so that when you go home, you don't carry all of that, just the banter of those women that have been in that house of, you know what I'm saying, ill repute. You feel me? And so that's the mentality of spirituality. It's an aura, and you can pick it up. If a young guy goes to work every day and his homeboys is in the trap and he go in the trap just to smoke weed with them, that's how he come out and get shot by the police, because he got the energy of the trap on him.
yeah.
You feel me? So
that's facts.
So, and like I learned that even when my uncles used to tell me that when I used to be running around with pistols, my uncle said, "Yo, you need to go into the woods and clean off." And I didn't understand that, but that's a means of demagnetizing yourself, so that you understand that them pilgrims, they be in the woods with their guns. They're always demagnetizing themselves because they're in the woods shooting. You in the concrete jungle, you carry that metal on you, it starts to magnetize on you. And so when the police see you, they can see the magnetism. They know you got it on you. You feel me? And just these little things these are things that have saved my life in the street. My uncles be like, "Man, come in over here, give me a cleaning, and I'll be straight." So I'm offering that to my bros, that I understand that we live very dysfunctional lives, right? But you just can't snap your fingers and expect people to necessarily go from tails to wings. And so you got to take them out slowly and build from generation to generation, because our enemies are thinking 100 years ahead because they have the patience. We got to have the same patience and the same foresight and forward thinking, so that these traditions is not for everybody to just jump in and start to convert. It's not about you Tyra, it's about the kids. It's about having this language and speaking it so that they know about Shango and they know Orisha and they know Egun and they know grandma. Because right now, the worst thing that has disconnected us all over the United States as Black people is the fact that the little children don't know who their great grandparents are. They don't know who they are. If you went to the Jacks right now and you asked one of them little dudes, yo, what's your great grandfather's name? He'd be like, oh, what's your great grandmama's name? I don't know. I know my grandmother's name, Nana. You understand? They don't see these pictures. They don't see those pictures and see those people, their faces in those old faces. You got to be able to look and see somebody in a black and white picture that look like somebody that you know today in your family.
That's
You feel me? And so that's why we talk about a glass of water and a candle, because the spirits that are most dear to you are your mama, your daddy, your family members, and your friend. Because they know you. You have memory with them. So tap in with, you know what I'm saying, a glass of water and a candle, and it's a tutorial. It's something that it's not gonna be a book that you're gonna read. It's not that type of thing where you're just gonna read. It's something that you go back to. It's for practice. I got prayers in it, I have songs in it, and I have a list of items that you could use to clean yourself off. It's a tutorial.
That's
You feel
about
me?
more instructional than anything.
Certainly. I mean, I give a little quick, you know what I'm saying, background about my experiences and how I got to be like this. And and give an ode to my ancestors, the ones that, you know what I mean, that taught me and brought me down this road. And the rest of it, like I said, is hands-on. You can use it. It's a tutorial.
I appreciate that, bro. Word, we definitely got to have you back real soon. Brother Knowledge
Yeah.
Born, anything you want to add on to that?
How the world I'm gonna follow Oba? That's why he be a guest on my platform. Because after he done, it's a wrap with me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. Yo, I mean, it was a powerful bill. Gutter, anything you want to add on to that?
No, I'm just waiting for the next time we can chop it up, because he
Now,
already.
What we
I'm
looking
gonna
like?
be. I'm coming up top soon because I got some ceremonies to do for a couple of my family members up there. So I like around maybe like after Thanksgiving or something, I might be up top. You know what I mean? Just to, you know what I mean? And we gonna sit down and build and break bread and shit like that, man.
I need a reading.
Nah, I got you, Gutter. Don't even worry. Listen, let me tell you something. Like I said, spirit is what connects all of us together like this. Like I said, I went to, and Juicy was my big homie. You feel me? If Chad ain't ever tell you what like the back, but Juicy was my big homie. You know what I'm saying? He was the dude that changed me from being just a regular comic book kid, niggas trying to stretch me out and tune me up because I ain't had no brothers and sisters, to being like, nah, son, punch that nigga in his face, my nigga. He ain't gonna do nothing to you. I got you. You feel me? And so he was my big homie. And when I found out that he died, that shit broke my heart because I was dealing with the heartbreak of another best friend. You know what I mean? And the fact that when I started doing all of this stuff, I started to, you know what I mean, certain strings started, things got tied, and questions was answered. You feel me? So
it's funny when you usually was your big homie, because that's I don't call him my little bro, because I looked at him as my peer, though he was years younger than me.
Right.
I was looking for a picture I have with
Big. Yeah, I saw him more as
a little,
you and Jay, them little men.
Right, because that's Jay little cousin. Me and Jay the same age.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Jay is like, big, and Jay used to, like, me and Jay played basketball together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like the other thing with like I said, I know for a fact that when did you give Hawk the read?
Damn,
when did he get involved with Ifa? From you?
No, he was already, because he used to deal with some Babalawos that I know, because he used to deal with some of the sisters from the east. You know, the Hurasasa, Claver's place and all that?
Right there in Claver and Putnam.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't.
Well, my family was well involved in all of that, like the Claver's place, African Street Festival, Dance Africa, all of that.
My pops used to, because my pops is a jazz musician. But
Okay.
all the martial arts shit, when they used to be there with them big ass pans flipping
Yeah,
each other.
yeah, yeah. No, listen,
Yeah, my pops
Master Sabu is from my neighborhood. Master Sabu,
Shout
they
out
studied
to
with
Abu.
Moses Powell and all of them. Look,
yeah, but my
I'm
pops used
from
to
the
come up there and do that shit too. My pops
yo.
used to be in the big pants and all that shit too.
Do you know my man? You know my man Maya?
Listen, like my pops, because my pops and my uncle knew a whole other set of motherfuckers that I didn't know nothing about. Like they was tapped in with the revolutionaries, like my uncle and all that was tapped
No,
in.
no, no, no. But my man Maya,
All that shit.
Maya is from the street. Maya's from Gates Avenue. He used to be a stick-up kid. He got killed by somebody. I don't know you. I know. I'm pretty sure you because Maya used to be with Mousy and he was in that circle. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, on
it
that
was
side?
huh?
You talking about the Notion side?
Well, he from Maya from the Garvey, but he used to be on NA Rock. He used to be with like listen.
Yeah, like back in the days, like we wasn't too cool. Like it's a lot of them dudes. It's a lot of dudes who Notion is my dudes. But back in the days, like in the 80s, nah, we wasn't cool. We wasn't too cool at all.
Gotta say we wasn't fly at all.
Nah, because it's like where and it was really through my other people because Bedford Avenue and Notion Avenue used to have a little thing, they little, but me is like the
Oba,
80s.
he can't hear you, Oba. Whatever you got going on right now.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Oh shit, my bad.
About to
No, I
go
was
in.
saying, like my connections. So all right, when I was in DFY. My homeboy came with a tape and he had a magazine. And niggas be like, yo, son, these niggas, they from your hood. I'm like, who that? And he was like, this is my man Big. He showed me a picture and they had a picture. And how I identified Big as being official is that I saw Ruben face in there. Because I used to see Ruben and them on Gates and Bedford in front of with D
Yeah,
Rock and them. Right?
yeah. This is the
Right.
thing is that's like I rocking them. They had a rivalry with Notion Avenue.
Yes, they bedrock niggas. They bedrock and then there's NA Rock. Yeah.
So when I start coming on Bedford's side, I took it as a different thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. No, I understand. Yeah, that's the eye.
I took it to another extent. It's like they was beefing, but they wasn't beefing.
Right.
It was just a rivalry thing.
Right.
And then me being cool with Rock is like, I'm feeling a different way. Because I was like
I totally understand. Listen, I'm from Gates and Marcus Garvey. Then nobody likes niggas down on my end. They don't even come down there, right? So and they rock.
Gates Avenue. I told you my daughter lives right in the buildings right there. She used to
right. So when I grew up, like NA Rock was not they didn't care for niggas from my side. You feel me? And so I used to have to walk through there. Because like I said, I would walk down Gates Avenue. I would see D Rock with G Young and all of them sitting in front of the joint. Then I would have to pass the niggas on by Norgate. Then I got to pass the niggas on Gates and Marcy. Then you understand? Just to get to my block. You feel me? So I wasn't liked over there till years later as we got to be like young adults that I started being cool with some of them niggas.
It's like once I did bids and bidded with dudes.
Right.
It was like, all right, I got a bond with this dude. I fuck with this dude. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't hold on to the feelings. You know what I'm saying? Nah, that's how it be, my nigga. It's
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when like you out there and then other dudes from that side is out there as well. So now it can get.
Now, let me tell you, that's a conversation, you know what I'm saying, behind the scenes, because everybody don't understand the politics of the style. And you know what I mean? And that whole it's its own city. It's its own city.
2 blocks away, nigga. Listen, that's a whole different neighborhood. Even if you're in the same neighborhood.
Exactly.
We got our own stores. We got our own
Own Chinese restaurant, all that.
own
Exactly.
Chinese restaurant, everything. We got our own everything. We got our own park, everything. So
Exactly.
come from this park to the next park.
It's different codes.
And another thing I used to get into with a lot of time because I used to play ball. So I'm playing ball everywhere. Like I didn't like you got to remember, I wasn't born and raised in New York. Most of my time I was down south as a youngster. So I didn't understand the parameters of you can't ball over there.
You can't go to 258. You can't go to 30.
Everywhere playing ball and I pop shit. You know what I'm saying? And I pop shit like because I was good. So I'm a pop shit. You know what I'm saying? So you already know what's gonna happen. You're gonna get into it. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get into it.
But brothers,
so that's the tale of my life.
But we're gonna have brother Oba back. We
gotta have you back, bro.
I want to put up a picture of our brother Juicy real quick. You know what I'm
man,
saying?
like peace and progress to his spirit, man. Like peace and progress. Like he's still alive. You know, he's still, you know, I mean, that's another thing I'm gonna tell you. They grow up on the other side. They grow up. You hear me? They do grow up. I see my best friend, and he's a grown man. He died when he was 16. That's the one thing that I could give people some solace is that you don't just die and you stay the same age. You grow up. You still grow. You feel me?
Right.
And so yeah, Juicy is a grown man wherever he's at, and he's laughing at us right now. Feel me?
Yeah, that's right there. Let me tell you, everything that I've grown to become he has a big part to deal with it because we lost our brother when we was young. You think he transitioned like a few weeks before his 18th birthday. You know what I mean? So he didn't even make it to 18. I'll never forget July 27th. It was a hard day for the whole block, for the whole community, for everybody who knew him and loved him. You know, you was bringing up good memories of Juicy that was buried in the back of my mind, and it just, I ain't gonna front, bro. You lifted my spirits yesterday, though I was in a good space. You know, it was you just giving me them little nuances that we forget about. I'm just remembering the person. You was remembering the spirit of Juicy. And I was like, damn, had me laughing and crying and everything.
yeah. Now he used to say to me, we be in school, he'd be like, holy steakums with cheese, Batman.
Nobody knew funny because you're so quiet.
Nobody know how funny he got mad jokes.
Yo, when I was away, right? This is me and Doggy's joke. One time we was in Juicy crib, and I was like, damn, son. Yo, Juicy, go downstairs and get us some snacks. He said, Tad, your fat ass don't need no snacks. The way he said it, yo.
Yeah.
Doggy laughed at that. Like, your fat ass
Bro,
don't need
he made me laugh when he brought up when he was in Hawk crib and Big around the corner.
Yo, that shit. Y'all don't understand, my nigga, man.
To let him know. Yeah, nigga, I know you hit me for that bread. That shit had me laughing because that's the first thing I thought about. That's the first thing came to my head, cuz. Because you know, I had just came home when he stopped being his road manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I had just came home. Like when I came home, I first came home, he was still his road manager. Like a couple months later, you know what I'm saying? He fell out.
Yeah, they said the numbers wasn't right. The per diem money wasn't right. Yo,
we got to do this real soon. Brother,
no doubt.
They hit you and Brother Knowledge Born so we can see how soon we can get this part 2.
Yeah. This is who backing me. That's why they got my back behind me. You feel me?
I share.
So y'all be well, man.
No doubt. Thank you, Brother Oba.
And I appreciate it.
No doubt.
I appreciate it. Knowledge, you know you're a legend. But listen, God, we gonna break bread, man. I promise you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey,
yo, real talk. Own that. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but that shit was the time, and that was the motherfucking the method. It was